This episode was alright. Everything was adapted well, I guess, but every scene seemed to go by so quickly. We were never given any room to breathe this episode, and the one time I thought we could slow down for a bit, we just immediately moved on to. Granted, this was done in the novel too, but I felt like all the emotions and thoughts in the scene were conveyed way better in text. And if the writers wanted this scene to feel more impactful, it needed more time to sit with us, to be honest. To give an idea of how fast-paced this episode was, Episode 1, an emotional episode that brought us back to Rudius's world at a solid speed, adapted pages 19 to 71 of Volume 7. That's around 50 pages. Episode 2, on the other hand, adapted pages 79 to 203. Around 120 pages. Now, with all that extra content, did we miss anything important in this adaptation? Well, no, not really. I'm honestly kind of glad we rushed through this part of the novel to give more time to the rest of the season, but this does come with some downsides. The character that was cucked most by this creative decision was Sara. Anime onlys are probably questioning why Sara simps even exist in the light novel community, and that is completely understandable because in these last few episodes, she has about as many interesting qualities as a blank piece of paper with a very faint image of Eris in the center. She's basically a generic tsundere in the anime, but that's mainly because the writers chose not to include any sections of the novel that switch perspectives. These changes in POV allow us to understand these characters more and get a feel for how they think of Rudius. Anime onlys will never understand how Sara's feelings with Rudy changed over time. They will never get a nuanced view of her character unless they read the source material. And I hate being that nerd who just says, excuse me, but it's better than the novel, so you just don't get it. The light novel is just better in every single way, okay? In some ways, yes, the light novel is better, but in the grand scheme of things, the stuff that the anime skipped was ultimately not critical to the plot of the series. You didn't need to know everything about Sara to get the main points across. You don't need to know how Rudius has built his reputation with the city by doing random chores for basically barely any pay. All you need to know is that Sara loves Rudy and Soldat hates his guts. If I had to point to one thing that this episode did extremely well, it would be the absolute Giga Chad. Soldat Heckler, baby, let's go. This show somehow managed to make him the biggest dick, but at the same time, kind of a nice dude. Even while drunk, he managed to pull himself together and apologize to most of Counter Arrow. Again, emphasis on most. He's a very honest guy, but yet he is also very shameless. He does not care about how other people interpret what he says or does. He's just openly critical of every person he comes across, and he hopes he changes for the better. At least what he thinks is better. But bro, that Rudius roast was just extremely harsh. It's obvious during that scene that Soldat's words hurt Rudius because some of what he said during that drunken rant was actually somewhat true. He sees Rudius as a waste of talent, someone who's holding themselves back from being more successful. Rudy's a talented mage, yet he wastes his time doing small-time adventure stuff. He can make a fortune off of doing A or S rank jobs consistently, but he instead grounds himself to doing small jobs for the town for relatively little pay. Rudy demotes himself to doing smaller things when he's capable of so much more, all to lift up his own ego and self-esteem. Instead of going to other towns and actually trying to accomplish his goals more effectively, he stuck himself in a loop of doing the same things over and over and over again, assuring himself that he's making progress when he's actually not. Rudius thinks that he's living a miserable life with so many of his past relationships vanishing before his eyes, but Rudy insists that he's helping find Zenith by avoiding them and doing everything by himself. Of course, Soldat's accusations don't apply one for one with Rudy's current state, but it was enough to strike a chord with him. I'm not going to analyze this altercation any further because of what's going to happen next episode, so I'll just leave it at that for now. Rudius deciding to save Sara at the end was heartwarming to see. Admittedly, it was a bit too easy to do, and I still find it a bit cliched that she fell in love with him immediately after that. It was a bit more believable in the novel, but here, since we don't know her that much, it felt kind of forced. Anyway, I just really hope that the writers don't rush this next episode. It has one of my favorite bits in the entire arc, and I think it needs the same level of detail as episode 1 to get it right. With all that said, like and subscribe for more episode reviews, and I'll see you next time.